So now we're going to get started looking a bit deeper at the process. Before we get started, I just wanted to explain to you the roadmap to it. We have 5 steps. The first step is profiling. The second is designing. The third is sequencing. Fourth is testing. And fifth are learnings. We're going to go through each one of them in detail. So sit back and relax. So now we're going to look at step number 1, which is profiling. Profiling essentially, and I just want to show you on the right hand side there, this is actually from the book itself. You'll find this in every single one of the 20 growth hacks, and this is the format and how it works in this specific sequence. I've provided an example that you can read on the screen there, and it's going to be the example that we use as we move forward. As we go through the process, I'm going to go through every single one of them, and I'm going to explain to you what exactly to do and how to go about it. This is the second part. We've had to use 2 elements here because there are 2 pages when it comes to profiling. The first page is the metadata, and the second part are further details that allow us to understand some of the other issues or circumstances that are related to the growth hack itself, which we will be going to in detail. The first step is giving your growth hack a name. What I suggest is giving it a wild, wacky, memorable name. It doesn't have to be complicated. It could be as simple as one word. Or a whole sentence if you wanted, but keep it really simple, memorable, and fun. The second part is a description of the hack. The description is not designed to be in detail. This is a 1 to 2, maximum 3 very simple, brief sentences that describe the growth hack that if somebody read it would just understand this is what it is, and you move forward. The next part is the growth problem. Now, this is really important because at the end, your growth hack is designed to solve a growth problem. And so you're solving towards that growth problem. And it's important to be very explicit. You can do this in point form. You can do this descriptively. You can do it in whatever way you want to do it, as long as it can accurately and vividly describe and pinpoint the growth problem that you're solving. Okay? This is really important. You should give this a bit of time to think about what you're doing. Number 4. So now we're moving on to the next part of the metadata. The first part is looking at the results that you're after. This is essentially the target, what you want to look for. So as you develop this hack, of course, we're remembering and looking at it just as a growth hack. It's important to keep it very simple, to be objective, and it's important to start real small. Now we need to look at a measure, and that measure is designed to be just one number. It could be a percentage as well, so it could be a value or a percentage, but we want to be super focused. We want to keep it very small in time frame, and we want to keep it super, super simple. Next are the costs. What are the costs involved? This is an estimate. It doesn't need to be exact, but I need you to think about if you're getting some tools, if you're going to have to hire somebody, if you have some hidden costs that are involved, definitely included here. We're not designing this to be a complicated experiment, but what we want to know is what's the relative cost and keep it as accurate and as simple as possible. Next is the ROI. So there are 2 ways of dealing with this. There's one of setting a target return on investment and seeing if you actually perform against it, or you can go and experiment and take a look at the results and then record what the results were, and that would be the ROI. So if I spent $100 and this hack was able to make me $1,000, then I know that my ROI is 10 times, right? So the best way that I do this, and this is the standard I work with, is it's better to record the result after it's done to see where it actually lands rather than setting a target ROI. And that allows your learning to be on a completely different level rather than just missing a target or completely exceeding the target. That's not what we're looking for. We're trying to get to something that's realistic, that can get traction, and something that we can keep experimenting with and repeating it so we can continuously get the return on investment. The next part is the time frame. And the time frame, we have some preset time frames already involved. And we've got everywhere from 15 minutes up to 10 days. And now let's say your circumstances do not match that. We have an area that you can just put other. We've simplified the process that you can just circle it in your book. If not, you just write it right in there. Now, a few things to keep in mind is that the shorter the better. Break it down. Keep it, again, on time and super, super simple, because we're not here to have like, a growth hack should not be like a project where it's like massively extensive. You'll find that the success of growth hacking is usually built on several growth hacks that come together to develop an overall growth strategy. So don't overthink it, don't over worry, but keep the time frame, really that's reasonable. And of course, this is relative to the growth hack that you develop. There's no right or wrong or benchmark to this. The next part is us profiling some really important things. So the first part is we want to know who the customer is. Who is it that you're actually targeting? It's really important here to be as explicit as possible. If you can be as detailed as some of the key demographics that you may be looking at, this is the place to do it. The next part are the users. Now, there's a big difference here. Let's use diapers as the example. We've been kind of put in the example before that. The user is the baby, but the customer is the mother, right? And so the person paying isn't necessarily the person who's actually using it. Like toys. I mean, toys are bought by parents but consumed by children. And it's really important to be distinctively different because you need to understand the difference between the user and the customer. Finally, the middleman. Who is in the middle between you and your customer, or you and your user, or you and your customer and user? That could be like a platform that enables like a marketplace. It could be lawyers, accountants, consultants, people who operate in the middle and ultimately work as middlemen to basically grease the wheel, or may actually in some cases be a barrier to what you're doing. So it's really, really important to understand that. Finally, what we're going to look at here is mindset. Mindset, okay, so you're going to notice that we've got 5 check boxes there, and we've got like 5 areas to write them in. This is like the knowledge needed, okay? And knowledge needed is not about necessarily the skills, because we're going to talk about in the next part, but it's the thinking that you may need. So you may need to think strategically. You may need to think about some very specific type of execution methodologies. And so you need to wrap your mind around that. And the reason I have it as a checklist is you make your target list on the right side, and as you develop that mindset or whatever it is that you need to do, you check it off one by one, and you'll notice that for the next 2 parts as well. The next part is the skill set. So this is the knowledge used for. So what will the knowledge be used for, right? So let's say, I want to develop an e-commerce site, and so I'm going to need to develop the website. I'm going to have to get the domain name. I'm going to have to get some graphic design in place. I may have to hire somebody that can do some algorithms, or maybe I can do it myself, just to be able to enable some of the capabilities I want to that are going to be very unique to that e-commerce site. And those are just some examples of the skill set. Again, it's the same format. You're going to write them on the right side. You're going to check them off as you actually build the skill set in whichever way you need to do it. The last part is the tool set. And here you're going to list the tools you need. So if we go back to the e-commerce thing, let's say you need a WordPress, and you need a Photoshop or an Affinity Photo, and whatever else that you may need as tools to actually use it. Now, I want you to keep in mind that you don't want to go super, super extensive on tools. In the secrets part, right? So when we go to the advanced learning in the next training, we're actually going to show you scientifically how many tools are used to create massive successes, and it's actually not very many. I understand that you may want to completely toolify. You want to get like 5, 10, 15 tools. That's a bad idea. What you want to do is you want to be focused on the primary tools, and you're going to list them as a target list over there, and then you're going to hit the checklist on the left side there once you've got those tools, or whether you've acquired them or however you've gone about it.